thought I'd make a quick PSA and to remind myself about the dangers of daydreaming while driving. I've had four major car accidents that resulted from me daydreaming while driving. I've never had any other problems relating to driving. I don't text and drive. I certainly don't drink and drive. I don't even drink at all. But daydreaming is the big one that causes all sorts of havoc for me on the road, and I've been clean of it, but I had a few close calls these last few days, so I thought I'd make a New Year's resolution and make a quick PSA about it on YouTube as well. One of my first major accidents was 5 years ago. I was working for a boss who was just a little bit difficult to communicate with. The work itself might not have been extremely challenging, but how I communicated my results to my boss was very stressful and challenging. And every weekend, I would go see my girlfriend. She lived about 250 miles away, and I would make that drive almost every weekend because I was so stressed out. I remember I would see my boss every Thursday afternoon, and I would be like, "Thank God, I could." On Friday night after work, I would drive straight to my girlfriend's place, and one February, we ran into a snowstorm on the way back, and I ran off the road and kaboom. And if I remember correctly, in the moments before the crash, I was still thinking about rehearsing something I wanted to say to my boss, and I just completely forgot I was on the road. And after that accident, I actually didn't drive for quite some time because I just had a huge fear of driving. I kept having flashbacks of the moments before the accident. That was probably the one accident where I was had the most potential of getting hurt. I've never gotten hurt in a car accident, but that one was the closest call to in terms of getting hurt, and I had huge flashbacks of it at night, and as much as I wanted to see my girlfriend, it kind of had to wait because of that. I also it was the logistics of flying there didn't quite work out either, so I kind of broke up with that girl after that. 3 years ago, I was driving a Honda Accord, and I was busy writing a paper for a computer game conference, and one of the big problems with writing papers about computer games is I write so many computer games that by the time I'm getting ready to write a paper for one of them, I have a much bigger result. It makes the old result seem like a dinosaur, and I almost don't want to write about it. I probably should write about it, but it's boring to me, and it makes me. It just feels like it feels stupid sometimes. It's kind of like if you invented calculus and you're trying to write a paper about why 2 plus 2 equals 4. It sometimes does feel like that when I'm writing a paper about my computer games. And so I was daydreaming about what I'm going to write, how I'm going to present it, and I was on my way home from an event that I don't go to very regularly, so it kind of got lost. And when I tried to make a U-turn to go the other direction, I got into I sideswiped somebody who was on the road, and didn't total the car that time, but it left the car in a mess, and it was embarrassing because I use my car quite a bit for various social events, and people get to see the condition of my car. I was a little bit embarrassed after that, actually, which was kind of a wake-up call for me. And then my most recent car accident was later that year. I had just come home from a computer game conference, and then I remembered that at one point I had broken up with my girlfriend because she wanted children. And I started to think about what would happen if we did have children. One of my big fears, or at least it used to be my big fear, was what's going to happen to my computer games after I die. I'm not very popular with my writing of computer games, or at least I used to not be very popular. Today, a lot more people know about my computer games. I hope a lot more people will know in the coming years, but at the time, if I did die back then, my computer games probably would have died with me. And so I remember thinking it might not have been a bad idea to have some children, who can continue writing my computer games after I die. And it made me think about my ex-girlfriend as a result. We had some good times. We didn't really break up in the sense of, fight or anything. We just kind of went our own ways. So we still talk to each other from time to time. It made me think about her. And next thing I know, traffic in front of me slows down, and I couldn't slow down fast enough, and I pulled into the shoulder, and it's just my luck that somebody else had their car broken down on the shoulder as well, and it was that. It was really nice, though, because I got a ticket over it, and the judge allowed me to do community service to work it off, and I went to community service, and I met another girl, but unfortunately, it looks like she wants to have children now, so she was a lot younger when I knew her, but now that she's graduated from school, she's thinking about children, so it's just like an endless loop, it sounds like. This past month, I had a few close calls. About a month ago, I was selling something online, and one of the potential buyers, I was selling an antique shogi set. Shogi is Japanese chess. I had an antique set that's about 200 years old, and I was posting it on Craigslist. Craigslist has this weird, I don't know why it attracts people who do this a lot. They'll ask a lot of interesting questions and then disappear without telling you. I think what some people like to do is they are still shopping around, but they kind of want you to hold the item for them. People angle shoot on Craigslist a lot. Another common tactic that I see a lot of on Craigslist is they'll get you to drive to their place, and they might be out of town, they might be a good distance, or it just might be an inconvenient time for you to drive there. And when you get there, they haggle the price because they realize that you're out the trip, and so I was trying to strategize how I was going to talk to this person who was going to buy this shogi set that I had. And next thing I know, traffic really slows down in front of me, and I jam the brakes, and the ABS kicks off, and everything in the car became a mess. I have a lot of stuff in my car because I travel quite a bit for various events, and my car was a mess as a result. And fortunately, it wasn't damaged. It was only that the stuff inside was a mess after that. Earlier today, I almost got hit by a car while I was walking. What had happened was I went into a Starbucks, and somebody just really annoyed the fuck out of me. I was getting ready to use the bathroom, and I went to the door, I opened it, and I went inside, and as I was closing the door, these are single cell bathrooms, so they weren't stalls or anything. I was closing the door, somebody holds the door and just jimmies their way into the bathroom. And he's at least twice my size. I let him have it, but, I was very upset. And as I walk out of the Starbucks, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And next thing I knew, I heard very heavy braking, and I realized the car was like 6 inches away from me. And the guy was just screaming at me. And I was, oh my God, I'm going to let somebody who wants to use the bathroom, he's going to kill me over it. And that was that. Sometimes I just can't stop brainstorming things as I'm in my car. On my way to work, I'll think about what I'm going to say to my boss at the meeting today. On the way off work, I think about how I'm going to make sure I can actually fall asleep tonight because I have an early morning meeting tomorrow. Earlier this year, I started to view events in outer space. We got a lunar eclipse coming up. And sometimes just on the way to the event, I'm starting to think about how I'm going to set up my camera. Maybe I'm going to record a YouTube video. What am I going to talk about? And the next thing I know, traffic slows down or something weird happens in front of me. I always wish, one of the big problems I have on the road is I sometimes kind of enjoy getting lost, because when I get lost, I might meet somebody. I talked about how I got into the car accident, I met my future wife. Sometimes I get lost and I stop to ask for directions, and I meet my future wife. And I kind of have an addiction to not looking for directions before I head out, because I trust that God has other events for me. But sometimes it gets me into trouble because I'm on the highway and I'm lost, and people behind me, they get impatient and they want to cut me off and whatever. And so it's really a balancing act sometimes. Maybe I just need to find a different avenue for meeting people. But more importantly, I need to stop doing this while I'm actually driving. I might need to pull off to think about some of these things in the future, and I hope you can do the same and stay safe. Thanks for watching.